Hi, my name is Masura. Today I will explain about introduction the skeletal system, axial skeleton, appendicular skeleton, and types of bones. The human skeleton system consists of all of the bone, cartilage, tendons, and ligament. The picture shows where the cartilage is. Cartilage is a strong and flexible connective tissue that protects your joints and bones. Altogether, about 20% thrust source of the body weight. So this picture shows us these bones make up the skeletal system which helps support the body and aid in movement. Bones give the body its shape and provide a framework to anchor muscle and tendons. Without bone and muscle working together, it's impossible to walk, run, and jump. Next picture, it shows us children's skeleton contain more bones because some of the bones fuse together during growth and development. But most important, the skeleton also protects soft part of the body such as the brain, run, or jump. Without skeleton, it would be easy for an injury to have fatal results. Now, the skeletal system can be divided into two parts known as the axial skeleton and the appendicular skeleton. So, I will explain about axial skeleton first. Why is it called the axial? Because it refers to the fact that the bones are located close to center of the body. It is the medial core of the body and connects the pelvis to the body where the appendix skeleton attaches. It supports the upright position and protects the brain, the spinal cord, and many of the internal organs. It includes around 80 bones. That's about 40% of all bones in your body. Next, this is the main component of the axial skeleton. These are the skull, which consists of 8 cranial bones and 14 facial bones. Composed of the skull, these are some of the smaller bones, like those in ear called the auditory ossicle and hyoid bone in neck. Next, the vertebral column, which consists of 24 vertebrae, the sacrum and the coccyx. And last but not least, the thoracic or rib, which includes the sternum and 24 ribs. Next is appendicular skeleton. There are total 126 bones. It consists of the bones that make up the arms and legs as well as the bone that attach them to the axial skeleton. Why is it called appendicular? The bones of the appendicular skeleton make up the rest of the skeleton and are so called because they are appendage of the axial skeleton. Now, let's discuss appendicular skeleton parts in detail. First, function of pectoral girdle. It provides an attachment point of numerous muscles which are needed to move the forearm. Next is pelvic girdle, also called pelvis. Its function as the point of attachment of the lower limbs to the axial skeleton. It provides an attachment point of numerous muscles which are needed to move the legs. This carries our body weight and vertebral column. Next, the upper limbs. It consists of the following bones such humerus, radius, ulna, carpals, metacarpals, and phalanx. It helps in the hand movement to perform various activities. Last is the lower limbs. It consists of the following bones such femur, tibia, fibula, patella, tarsal, metatarsals, and phalanx. They are weight-bearing bones and support the entire structure of the body while walking, jumping, or running. As we know, 206 bones in total form the human skeletal framework. All these bones are classified into based on shape, and one of the primary types is the long bone. So, this picture shows us the example of a long bone such as femur, tibia, fibula, humerus, radius, and ulna. They are longer in shape than their width. Also, it includes the longest bone known as the femur. Moreover, long bones support the weight and movement of the body. Next types of bone is short bones. Short bones in the human body are often cube-like. Their length, width, and height are all about the same. Short bones include the carpal bones of the hands that allow movement of the wrist and the tarsal bones of the foot that allow movement of the ankle. The flat bones in your body make up the brain case and some facial bones. They also include the scapula and sternum or ribcage. So the picture shows us a skull, scapula, and sternum is a type of a flat bones. The flat bones are not entirely flat but much more flat than other bones. They are filled with red bone marrow which help produce blood cells. They also protect some of the most important organs, provide shape to the body, and help the body move. So last but not least, irregular bones are one of the 4 types of bones that cannot be categorized as long, flat, and short bones. The irregular bones are literally found all over the body, including the bones of the vertebra, the sacrum, and coccyx. The function of irregular bones is to protect various parts of your body. For example, vertebra protect the spinal cord.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Ashur Shafiq bin Hasmi. I want to explain about functions of bones. What is bones? Bones is living tissue that makes up the body skeleton. There are 3 types of bone tissue, which is compact tissue, the hardest outer tissue of bones, and cancellous tissue. Functions of bones. Bones provide shape and support for the body as well as protection for some organs. Bones also serve as a storage site for minerals and provide the medium marrow for the development and storage of blood cells. Bone composed 50% water and 50% solid, calcified, rigid. Provide shape and support frameworks body. Also that important role in hematopoiesis formation blood cells that take place in bones marrow. Provide place to attach muscle and make movement possible through articulation. Bone structure. Compact bone consists of closely packed osteon or ovation system. The osteon consists of central canal called the osteonic ovation canal, which is surrounded by concentric rings, lamellae of matrix. Between the ring of matrix, the bone cells of osteocytes are located in space called lacunae. Joints. Joints, one of the key characteristics that distinguish living organisms from non-living is the ability to locomote and move. This feature is crucial for survival as living organisms need to adapt to their environment and cater to their own biological needs such as food, self-preservation, and mating. Types of joints. We have 6 types of joints. Number 1, pivots. Number 2, hinging. Number 3, saddle. Number 4, plate joints. Number 5, ball and socket. Number 6. Condyloid. For example, we have two joints, diatrosis and epihiatrosis. Diatrosis joint that allow free movement and variety direction, and epihiatrosis joints that allow slight movement. Next one is vertebral columns. The vertebral columns, also known as the spinal columns, is the central axis of the skeleton in vertebrates. The vertebral column provides the attachment to muscles, supports the trunk, protects the spinal cord and nerve roots, and serve as a site for hematopoiesis. The vertebral column composed of separate bones called vertebrae, connected four spinal curves that support the weight of the body and provide balance needed to walk. Vertebral columns also have 7 cervical vertebrae and 12 thoracic vertebrae, 5 lumbar vertebrae. Cervical surface contains 7 vertebrae and thoracic 12, lumbar 5, and cervical surface does not contain vertebrae.
Hi and Assalamualaikum everyone. My name Siti Nur Adiba Akmal binti Muhammad Fuad. So, like you can see, this is the type of body movement at diatrotic joint, and it contains 10 movement, which is the first one is abduction and adduction. The second one is flexion and extension. The third one is circumduction. The fourth is eversion and inversion. Number 5 is dorsiflexion. The 6th is retraction and protraction. 7 is rotation. Number 8 is about supine and prone. 9 is about Fowler and Trendelenburg. And the last one is lateral recumbent. So, for the first one, let's go to the movement that called abduction and adduction. Abduction and adduction are terms that refer to certain body motions or movements. Abduction is the opposite of adduction. Abduction is limbs are moved away from your body midline, while adduction refer to moving your limbs closer to the midline. And the second one is about flexion and extension. Flexion and extension describe movement that affect the angle between two parts of the body. Flexion describe a bending movement that decreases the angle of joint, while the extension is the opposite of flexion. Flexion describing a straightening movement that increases the angle between body parts. Third one is circumduction. Circumduction is movement at the end of the bone in a circular motion. This is the easiest movement among the others. And page 4 is about movement that called inversion and eversion. Inversion is turning the ankle so the plantar surface of foot faces medially. And eversion is turning the ankle so the plantar surface of foot faces laterally. So, this is about dorsiflexion and plantar flexion. Dorsiflexion is the movement of the foot upwards, so that the foot is closer to the shin. For a movement to be considered dorsiflexion, the foot should be raised upward between 10 and 30 degrees. Dorsiflexion uses the muscles in the front part of the foot. And this one is about protraction and retraction. Protraction is gliding motion or move the scapula forward and toward the side of the body in an anterolateral direction, while retraction is the opposite movement that moves structure back to anatomic position. So, at this page is about medial rotation and lateral rotation. Medial and lateral rotation at the knee joint is the inward or outward rotation of the tibia in relation to the femur. This motion also can contribute to the abduction or adduction of the foot. Regarding this page, in general use, prone and supine indicate contrasting position of the body. A person in a supine position is lying flat on their back, and that's called face up, while a person in a prone position is lying flat on their front, that's called face down. Prone and supine are both used in medical and anatomical contexts to describe a position in which a person is lying down, but they refer to different ways of facing, either face up or face down. The second last page is about Fowler and Trendelenburg position. Fowler position is upright sitting with leg resting, and Trendelenburg position is body lying supine or flat with the head lower than the feet. And the last one for the type of body movement at diarthrotic joint is about lateral recumbent. Lateral recumbent position are divided into two, which is right lateral recumbent and left lateral recumbent. Right lateral recumbent is lying on right side, and left lateral recumbent is lying on the left side. The male and female pelvis. There are many different between male and female pelvis, which is the first one is bone of female pelvis are lighter and thinner, while male bone heavier and thicker. The another difference is angle and pelvic outlet female pelvis are comparatively large, while male comparatively small and subpubic angle more acute. The cycle of bone growth and resorption. Bone metabolism is a continual cycle of bone growth and resorption that is carefully orchestrated by the dynamic relationship between osteoclast, osteoblast, and an array of hormonal and regulatory influences. Bone metabolism is regulated by a complex array of hormonal influences and growth factors that foster communication between osteoclasts and osteoblasts and which have profound effects on the skeleton. The key players in the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis are the reproductive hormones, include estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, while the growth hormone or insulin growth factor axis has direct impact on cartilage expansion, bone modeling, and remodeling.